So typically, I start off with some of the success that we've had this year. We always kind of hover around our 54 to 56% participation rate, and then this number was drawn from the last 3 full seasons we had of winter, fall, and spring. Our GPAs of our athletes continue to be higher than non-athlete. This past fall, we had several New York State Scholar Athlete teams. We had another Con Ed Award winner this past fall, Isolde McManus of the girls cross country team. League champion and sectional champion. If you haven't had an opportunity to see our Putnam Northern Westchester Section 1 girls cross country team, they are a true delight and a very rewarding team to watch. Coach Bailey has had this group of girls, some of them as early as back in 7th and 8th grade. Seeing them train daily as a young group of girls, and their leadership and their bond and chemistry together, it's phenomenal. And the fact that they won a Section 1 championship this past fall was indicative of their hard work that they have really been putting in for several years. So hopefully we can carry that over to a winter track and a spring track and field season, but they're truly a talented group, our girls cross country sectional team. Two of the items that I'm really most proud of this year are the fact that we conducted and completed a successful fall season, and we're currently conducting successful off-season workouts. It's challenging with COVID, but it's being done, and it's being done every day. I really am thankful for our coaching staff, the coaches that are coming in on the off-season workouts every day after school. We're there 3 o'clock, sometimes till 9 o'clock at night on certain evenings, and they're there giving up their time for our kids that are, to do something productive for the off-season workouts. And then, as I said earlier in the meeting, hopefully these off-season workouts will translate very soon into official practices, and I'm feeling very optimistic about that. I think we do a really good job in our district of promoting our athletes and our programs. We have coaches that are always willing to nominate kids for various coaching association awards, and their work with, as I said earlier, the Con Ed awards and our various teams being put up for community service awards. We do a really good job of that, and it's really highlighting the good work that our student athletes do on and off the field. So I know I think I speak for all of them. We're proud of what they do there. So I'll take next, Greg. So getting into our projected our budget for next year, as Lisa said, this budget is also planned for a normal year, which will hopefully we will return to in the 21-22 school year. So the first slide here are our contractual lines: the coaching salaries, the staff salaries, and overtime. The coaching salaries, it's a little more than 2%. It's based, and the reason why is because of there's changes in specific positions and different steps, but that's a contractual step, a contractual obligation of where we will land with next year. Staff salaries, again, are a contractual obligation. We will reduce the overtime a little bit there. We only come up with certain aspects of overtime. Sometimes in the summer when specific jobs need to get done, we'll have to get those done there if it's outside of the regular day. So this slide represents where we will be for our contractual lines. I'll go to the next one, Greg. So here for our non-salary lines, and I'll go through them all, and then the 2 increases I'll make sure I speak with a little bit more. But the first 3 lines, our equipment, supplies, and contractual, those are our 3 lines that we deal with basically daily in the athletic office. I tried to reduce the 3 of them to be able to internally handle the next 2 increases that we need. I also can handle some of the decreases there based on some of the inventory that we can hold on to for next year that we had prepared for this year, but for COVID-related reasons, we didn't use it, so we can handle the reductions there, specifically in the supplies area and the equipment area for that matter. But BOCES has a significant increase, and as Lisa alluded to in her presentation, there are increases in BOCES that we just can't control, and we have to handle them. The largest increase in this BOCES line, the $31,000 increase, really goes towards the officials contract. Next year, we will have a full year of the brand new officials contract, and we're obligated to pay them for their officiating at the varsity, JV, freshman, and modified. and it's a contractual agreement that that BOCES enters in with them, and a large chunk of our BOCES line goes towards our officials' payments. The other increase that will be in here will be the one program that we were able to internally pick up this year, and that's the live streaming capabilities of the local live is what we call it. It's a local live service is the name of the company that does it. It's the live streaming capabilities. We have 2 cameras right now. We have one on our main field on the turf and one in the gymnasium. This past fall, with the limited amount of spectators we were allowed in, the capabilities to live stream them was really advantageous for our entire community. I kind of get my TV ratings after every athletic event on the main field, because immediately at the end of the event, I will get an update from the local live company with how many viewers were on there. I said to the finance committee the other night, one of our events this year took over 1,200, had over 1,200 views, and I got so many emails from the company stating that they never had gotten such a high number in a viewing for them. So I think it's something that our community has very much appreciated. With hopefully we transition to an official gym winter season, where in the gymnasium we'll have another camera. Again, there's going to be limited spectators immediately here in the winter season as we transition to the COVID high-risk winter season. So that need in the gymnasium will be there as well. But moving forward, any event we have on the main field, it could be any event, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, extracurricular activity for a particular club in the gymnasium or the main field, we have the capabilities now to live stream that. It does not have to be an athletic event. So, for instance, one of the biggest fundraisers our PTSA works with at the high school is the senior fashion show. When that returns in a live capacity, we will be able to streamline that from the gymnasium. So that's the biggest part of the increase in the BOCES. The other large increase that you see is for chaperones. As I said the other night at finance, the number that I'm projecting of about 65,000, that's been the actual number. The last few years, I've had to internally transfer money from different lines to handle that. So I think we need to prepare accordingly for that. The last few years, we've been very successful in a lot of sports, and success brings 2 things. It brings more games and more fans. And when you have those 2 things, you need more chaperones. The biggest example I can give you is last year when our girls basketball team won the Class A Section 1 championship. It brought with us 2 extra home games that we had to supply a full chaperone staff, and both of those games were against highly emotional rivalry games. We played our local Walter Panis in one game, and that again came with a large crowd on both ends. When we played 2 games at the county center, the semifinals and the finals, we had to bring 4 chaperones to that game. And again, high impact game, large crowd, a lot of emotions. It was necessary. So the more success we have, that's the reality of where we are at. The 2 final lines, the transportation line and the overtime lines, I worked with Liz Gillio and Anthony Merlini, and we will just hold the line on that and do whatever's necessary in terms of internally keeping those numbers where they're at. So this gives us the snapshot of all the non-salary budget lines that we had to go. So I guess if there's any questions now in regards to those, is there any questions that I have for this? All right, I will go to the next one then, Greg. This culminates the contractual and the non-contractual pieces. So the 3.9% difference really comes from those 2 pieces that I had just spoken about with the BOCES and the chaperone. But the BOCES is the largest one, and it's really out of our control. And I will speak a little bit more detailed on the next few slides. So I'll go to the next one, Greg. So I added the slide in here, and I wanted to give a snapshot of the COVID impact of where we are, but from a budgetary standpoint in athletics. So we have some unused funds from the 2021 school year, and the number that I was able to calculate in the last few days, the 40,546 is unused salary / stipends from modified sports. The modified fall season and the modified winter season have been canceled by Section 1. So those sports that you see there listed here on the slide, they are canceled. I was kind of hoping that for our student athletes' sake that some of them would be postponed and I'd be able to run them at a future point in the year, but they were canceled. The two remaining seasons, the fall two season, which will be football and volleyball from a modified standpoint, and a spring season, which is boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, baseball, softball, and spring track. Those right now, from a Section 1 standpoint, are TBD, to be determined. The reality is, at the modified level, there are two huge challenges to run a modified program in COVID. The first challenge is the amount of students that are remote. Getting a middle school student back in the afternoon for 3:15 practice is not as practical as the high school student. So it's the remote virtual aspect. And then the second piece of that is transportation, is being able to, would we be in a position that where we necessarily have to transport kids throughout the day to get them back for practice? So the practicality of running a modified program has presented challenges during COVID. So that's where we stand from that. There could be a potential for more unused funds, but the reality depends on what happens with the remaining part of our athletic schedule. We could get unused funds that are chaperones, officials, and future stipends. I talked to Mr. Catalan in the last few days. At this point last year, the athletic department spent $580,000. Right now, where we're at the same point, we've only spent $225,000. So it just gives you an idea of where we're at. But a lot can change in the next few days, as I talked about earlier, with the authorization and moving forward with some potential high-risk sports. So there's a lot of change that could happen, but otherwise there's the potential for some more unused funds. So I'll go to the next one. So we've had a lot of success. As I keep saying, we really do a lot with what we can right now. I'm very proud of the fact that we were able to conduct varsity and JV boys, girls soccer, field hockey, girls tennis, cross country, girls gymnastics, bowling, skiing, boys swimming, and winter track and field. We did that. We've done that right now. That's about 289 athletes have participated on these teams. We have another, and that 89 has already gone up since this morning when I edited this presentation. We're over 100 now for registered for high risk winter sports. And as I said earlier, hopefully those in the next few days, we will get that authorization and move forward with more kids. Our off-season workouts that I continue to speak about, we've run them for all the high-risk sports that have not granted the authorization. The coaches have come in and done what they are allowed to do from our Department of Health. So we have specific guidelines that we must follow. We do them. We have COVID protocols. Kids that are registered for a particular workout will fill out their COVID screener. They'll arrive on site for their practice, whether it's in the gymnasium, on the turf, at the Blue Mountain Middle School Gymnasium. Coaches take their temperatures before they enter, and then they begin their workout. We have allotted a maximum number of participants, and every day the workouts are sold out. We call them. They sell out every day. Whatever number we set, they sell out. So we have done a lot in terms of being successful with what we could from a COVID standpoint. So I think my next slide speaks to some of what our kids have said, and these words probably are the most meaningful in the presentation here, and I'll read them so people can at home if they want to hear. But Sarah Mandelkow is a senior cross country. She was a member of our Section 1 championship team. She's been a long time three-sport athlete on these sports. Sarah's going off to Sacred Heart University to continue her track and field career. So thanks to Section 1, we were able to have meets, and we ran each race like it was our last. But luckily, we made it to the end of our season with great success. Practices during the week and meets on the weekend added a sense of normalcy to my life, and it gave me something to look forward to, which had a positive impact on my mental and physical health. So it says a lot in that little snapshot there from Sarah. Kira Verada, again, another multi-sport senior athlete. Kira will be going off to Iona College to continue her girls lacrosse career. So she says, personally, this will be the last time I am eligible to participate in certain events, more specifically soccer and basketball, and cannot express my gratitude enough to be given this opportunity to finish it out for the last time. Although many obstacles have occurred over the past year, you have done so much to make this possible for us. This meant the world to all of us athletes, whether being a freshman or seniors. She doesn't mention girls lacrosse because she'll be continuing her career at the next level. And our final one, Frankie Godino is a senior football and baseball player. Frankie will be going off to Penn State next year in the fall. And he'd like to thank the head of administration, athletic director, and coaching staff for encouraging and allowing our football team to perform our limited practices during the pandemic. Although we have been limited to the size and length of time we practice, being able to get together with teammates has been the highlight of these uncertain times. We've been able to get together and focus on our goal of winning. We've been able to discuss our new Class B schedule and welcome our new players to our team. So I think what those kids say are really powerful for what we have been able to offer to them this year. So I'll go to the next one. I included some pictures here, so I'll just give a little summary of each of them. Our first one to the left is our talented senior athlete runner, Isolde McManus, our Con Ed Award winner and member of our Section 1 championship team. We were able to have our cross-country meets up at the Milton Sports Complex in Milton, New York, and it was as good of a complex that was able to handle a cross-country meet as we had. We didn't have the opportunity to run at Croton Point Park or typical meets throughout the section that we've had in past years. So we were able to go here on most Saturdays, and that's her finishing up in her mask and following the guidelines, which makes me proud. Our middle picture is our coach DiNardo of our girls varsity soccer team. These are how our protocols work every day. That's how they enter the site to come in. And our final one is some of our JV boys soccer players on Officials Appreciation Day. We gave the two officials a nice hen hut gator that they can have for social distancing and for the future. I have some other pictures on the next slide. These were some of our senior award ceremony, senior recognition nights, our girls soccer senior ceremony, our boys soccer senior ceremony, and our field hockey senior ceremony. So being able to have all these during COVID is something that I'm really proud of. And I know for a fact this because the kids have been very, very conscientious of thanking everybody for offering this opportunity. So I'll go to the next slide. So our line increases, as in summary, our staff salary is contractual. The BOCES line, I talked the full year of officials contracts. There's a slight increase in BOCES programs. We do purchase some programs through BOCES. It gives us a better discount on them through their price. For instance, we use our Impact Concussion Management Program. We purchased that through BOCES. So these are some of the services that we get through them, and then our local live costs, like I had touched base with earlier. And our chaperone, some of the reasons, as I alluded to, why that line is an increase. So I'll go to the next slide. And we continue to be fiscally responsible with this. As I said, we took an inventory. We will save on what we can save for next year to hold that line. We'll have the internal reduction, some of the things that we can handle with the internal reduction in overtime, and with our equipment that we handle all of that internally with the athletic budget. And I always like to finish up with we still offer we have not deviated on our programs that we're offering. We have 31 different varsity programs. We offer a lot of diversity for our kids and our student athletes throughout the year. A lot of opportunities are there for them. From modified, with our one freshman team, our JV and varsity, we have 64 different teams. So there's ample opportunity for our student athletes. So, and I think my next slide is, as I always like, one of my favorite quotes from a longtime coach here who no longer is with us, and that's Coach Dutch Pritz. And it's something that has stuck with a lot of our teams. It's a great day to be a Sailor. So it's something that our kids take pride in every day, and it's something that I enjoy seeing them every day. And I think that our community is very appreciative of being able to get back out there on the fields. And hopefully in the next day or two, we get a lot more news so that we're out there in a full-time capacity. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to see the kids out there. I'm a student athlete myself, and she certainly appreciates being able to participate in sports. It's a great way to bring some semblance of normalcy to this really weird time. And
Yes,
as you could see from those statements, it's very important to the kids as well. So thank you for keeping the program going. As we said earlier, I know that guidelines are changing every day, and you guys have been right on top of that. So we definitely appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions about the athletics budget tonight? All right, good job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you.